Welcome to Creative Living with Jamie. I'm your host, Jamie Ridler, founder of the School of Creative Magic. On this podcast, you'll discover the magic that's possible when you realize that your life is your studio and you are an artist. Hey everyone. I feel like it's the middle of the night and I've followed my impulse to go to the window and pick up a tin can that's been sitting there undisturbed for quite some time. From the bottom of that tin can runs a string, and that string slips out of the window and crosses street after street after street, tree after tree, yard after yard. That string is attached to many strings and many versions of tin cans in many homes across the globe, and it's our way of connecting. So tonight I picked up that patient tin can and spoke into this magical device to whomever happens to be listening. I'm glad you picked up. It's been quite some time since I spoke with you this way. Though maybe we've connected other ways, letters from my studio, taking classes, maybe on Instagram, and I love that. But I've also missed this. So today, here I am. I'm going to share with you a little bit about where I've been. And if you're inspired, please reach out and tell me you got the message. I'm still at Jamie, Jamie, at openthedoor.ca. So, since we last talked, quite a few major things have happened. I'm going to tell you about three things that have had a huge impact on me for the past long while. The first is that my dad passed away, and that's left me moving through the world without either of my parents. Maybe you know what that's like. I know many of you were with me and sent so much love when I lost my mom, which it's hard to believe was over 10 years ago now. With my dad, to be candid, we had a difficult relationship. And you know, it's funny, over the years, I've often found that I'd be in the middle of a deep friendship. And after a time, we'd be chit-chatting and we would discover about each other that we were both eldest daughters with tough relationships with their dads. It seems to be a thing. Now, I am really thankful that in the last year of my dad's life, we were able to have several and gentle conversations that led to a whole lot of healing. I also have to admit that I am, in many ways, my father's daughter. For example, I am a straight arrow. My dad was an ethics professor, and I'm usually the last one to finish dinner. And in fact, my pace is generally slower than I care to admit. And my dad was slow. That last, though, in my own life, I'm learning to appreciate. Now that both my parents are gone, I'm in a new era, a time when I look at my living lineage and in my immediate view, it's me on the vanguard. So what does that mean? I don't know. I'm still learning, and as many of us do, I'm facing that new era in the context of growing older. And if we've been together a long time, I know we've been doing that together. Now, I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but I want to mention to you that one of the things that was truly, really helpful for me and my infinite stories and limiting beliefs around getting older was a symposium that I held last year called The Crone Conversations. Maybe you came to it. I interviewed 13 amazing women about aging, and each one of them gave me wisdom that changed my perspective. And by the way, we're working on setting things up So you'll still be able to sign up for that and access the recordings at thecroneconversations.com. If you go there and they're not there yet, we are working on it. I'll tell you the next part next. So I guess that is a good segue into the second thing that really changed for me in the past while. I founded the School of Creative Magic. For years, I have been offering coaching and classes at Jamie Riddler Studios. And sometime last year, the words, the School of Creative Magic, just dropped into my head. And I knew, I'm just one of those people, that's how my intuition or my guides or the universe or whatever you want to call it, that's how I get that deep knowing. Something just drops into my head and there it is, as if it were fact. So I knew I had received my instructions. It was time. It was time for a new way of bringing together work I'd been doing for over the past 20 years. I have always talked about magic, but it's sort of been in and under and running through my work. Now this would make it front and center. You see, to me, creativity is magic. It's the most practical magic there is. As people, we have the ability to make something out of nothing. To reach like the magician tarot card into the sky and bring an idea or inspiration down into this earthly realm where it can have presence and impact. From the very beginning, one of the reasons I wanted to help people tap into this ability was so that we could each know our own agency. Yes, we can make paintings and music and puppets and poetry and socks. And also, we can and do create our lives. And I want to help people do that. Now, building the School of Creative Magic also gave me a great sense of freedom. For those of you who are entrepreneurs, you will know this personally. It is very hard when you run a business that comes straight out of your heart to not take everything personally. Especially if you are what I like to call an HSC, a highly sensitive creative. Building the School of Creative Magic was giving life to something that could now live outside of me, maybe even grow into something independent of me, though always rooted in what I call the studio way. And one last reason, I admit rather sheepishly, is it's a name that everybody can grasp or at least have an immediate reaction to. When people hear Jamie Riddler Studios, it's anybody's guess what we do there. But when I say the School of Creative Magic, even if you don't know the specifics, you know pretty quickly whether it's something for you or not. Creating the School of Creative Magic also gave me a large enough container to hold the body of work that I have been growing and building beneath me for the past 20 years. I am clear on the curriculum that we're offering. It starts with the Studio Yearbook, a seasonal fill-in-the-blank journal that is full of the essential creative practices that I have learned over the years. It is a potent and accessible support for awakening your artistic spirit and beginning to establish your creative life. We also have the studio. This is a place to nourish and develop that artistic spirit through the power of creative practice. It's a home base for your creative spirit, somewhere you can bring the questions, the struggles, the celebrations that come up along your artistic path, a place to be in community. And then we have Devotion, a 3-month creative residency for those who want to make their art central to their life without necessarily making it their profession. Season after season, I am so honored and moved and inspired and proud of the graduates of this program. I witness how they emerge with not only a new body of work, but also newfound confidence. This is a deep and beautiful, life-changing program. So this is the core of our curriculum, these 3 offerings. And there are so many other things in the works. A yearly symposium like the Crone Conversations, our yearly planning day retreat, on-demand classes you can take for self-study, and of course, this show. And not only that, soon we'll be doing dances. Yeah, dances. And I'm going to tell you more about that in a minute. We're building all of this step by step. And if you haven't already, I hope you'll come and join us at theschoolofcreativemagic.com. Okay. Now, the third thing I have to catch you up on, my dear friend, is that I have become a DJ. I still laugh. You heard it right. Last year, I spent 7 months in the most intensive training program I've ever been in. And I learned not only to be a DJ, but also to bring an embodied leadership approach to that work. This training, truthfully, it asked everything of me. I confronted so many of my own woundings, even as I expanded and celebrated myself as an emerging artist. But, that's what the arts do for and to us. We step into something full of love and enthusiasm, curiosity, and a desire for learning and self-expression. And then, if we let it, art breaks us open and transforms us into something new. And that's how I felt on the other side of my DJ training. In fact, the truth is I'm still unfurling. I'm in that adventurous stage of moving from learning to leading. And I had my first really amazing experience at the closing for the Crone Conversations. I hosted my very first dance party to close the event, and it was glorious. So much energy, so much emotion, so much expression. So I cannot wait to do more. And if you are at theschoolofcreativemagic.com, you will be the first to know when I have a dance coming. You can also find me over at SoundCloud, and the mix I played for that closing party is available there. For the first time, as I was getting ready to make this for you, I realized that one of the things that this means is we're actually having school dances. I love that so much. So that is where things are, and that is where I have been. It's been hard for me to not be here. I've thought about it all the time. These conversations have been tugging at my heart. I love connecting this way. But over the past while, not only have I been moving through some difficult things in life, I was also building something new and learning something new. And between you and I was also struggling with a creative challenge that maybe you can relate to. I've hosted this podcast for years. I was doing interviews with people on phones before Zoom, before Skype. And then I did the behind the scenes, also known as the BTS, on YouTube for years. Oh my gosh, if I look back at the first ones, they are fuzzy and dark, and the sound is so bad, but I love doing it, and it grew into something beautiful. So when I started coming back to this idea of having a show, I had an amazing vision in my head. I wanted to do audio and video. I wanted to do interviews and vlogging and mini workshops and these Tea for Two episodes. I started working on creating a great setup, upgrading my lighting, getting editing software, all the things. I created cool intros for each of my guests, or at least I started to. In fact, I am embarrassed to say that I have 2 interviews that have been sitting there languishing because I discovered that it was all too much. It was certainly too much for me to be able to do on my own. The vision was big and it was beautiful, but if I was going to manage every piece myself, which I tend to do, then it would end up taking basically all the time I have. It would literally be a full-time job. And so I got stuck. I got stuck because the leap between where I was and what I envisioned was just too big. Just too big. So I offer that up to you in case that ever happens in your creative life, where you just get stuck. And in part it's because there's too far a distance from where you are and what you're imagining. How can you keep that big vision alive, but also get moving? What's the next step that you can actually do? And that's where my thinking went. You see, when we turned the corner of the last year, I had a thought. Again, one of those thoughts that just drops in. What if it was just simple? I love all of the beauty and the big and the possibilities that live in my head are endless. But also, isn't the point to just be together on this creative journey? To share and explore and discover what it means when your life is your studio and you are an artist. And that's why I picked up this tin can tonight. I just wanted to talk to you, artist to artist, heart to heart. So that is what has been going on with me, my friend. I am still here. I hope you're still listening and dreaming and creating and growing. I hope you're still wrestling with the big questions and getting joy from everyday magic. I'm pinging this line and hoping we're still connected. And I'm trusting that if I keep it simple, the next step will come. It's so good to be here with you. Thanks for listening. Creative Living with Jamie is brought to you by the School of Creative Magic and you. You nourish this podcast every time you share, like, subscribe, leave a positive comment or review. Never underestimate your impact. Remember, you are an artist and your life is your studio.